Uh, Judge, I need your help. How do you pronounce your former colleague at Lurk? It's it's like, it's a German last name and it's tricky on me. She's the chief, let's say, I was gonna say administrative assistant. That's probably the word for it.
At Lurk?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's terrible. I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, it's K-O-E-E-P. K-O-E-E-P.
Jenny Capt?
Is it Capt?
Yep. Jenny, yep.
Well, you know my old joke, I'm from Milwaukee. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very true. Okay, and what is your decision with respect to this?
Just a few questions. Well,
okay. All right, continue, please.
Okay. Great. Since the last time we had a hearing from today, have you just met with the corporation counsel?
You broke up again, but I think I understand. Did you ask if I've discussed this with Attorney Lawrence since the last hearing?
Right. I don't need to know what you discussed. I just want to know, had you discussed this matter?
We have.
Okay. Have you prepared for your testimony here today since the last hearing?
Yes.
How did you prepare?
I met with Attorney Lawrence. I reviewed certain documents that I thought might be relevant to the matter.
Okay. Did you go over Mary Paul's HR notes?
I did not do that.
Okay. What documents did you go over?
I went over several of Mr. Lucky's prior internal affairs investigations. I can describe them to you. I don't have the case numbers in my head, but if you'd like me to, I can just briefly describe which ones they were.
Okay. And these are complaints against Mr. Lucky?
Most of them, yes. I also did review investigation that we did based on a complaint that he made as well.
Okay. Did you talk to anybody besides Attorney Lawrence?
No.
Okay. How about on the subject of the meetings with Molly Zillig and Mary Paul and Mr. Holden?
Have I talked to anybody about that?
Right.
I did not.
Okay. How about the subject of recording Teams meetings?
I have not.
Okay. Do you record your Teams meetings?
No.
Okay, I'm ready to pass the witness. Thank you.
Okay, Attorney Lawrence, questions?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to actually start with a question for you, Your Honor.
Yes.
When we anticipated a much more summary hearing, we marked the investigative summaries of the files as our exhibits. However, as extensive as it's gone, I guess Attorney Hitchcock Cross has the right to the full file if he wants it under best evidence rule. How would you like me to proceed? Do you want the full file or do you want just the investigative summary?
I'm fine with the investigative summary, but I would hear from Mr. Cross on that.
Okay. And when you're talking about investigative summary, we're talking about whose investigative summary? We're talking about the investigator's summary? Or at what stage are we talking at?
Are you asking me?
Right.
The investigative summary, I believe, is the conclusory piece of the IA file.
Right. Okay. And
I'm asking if you want the underlying written records and notes. They were turned over, you have them all. Is best evidence rule would say you could get them all, or we could proceed with just the conclusions they reached.
I'm sorry, my understanding is the question that you're asking is, can you put something else? And I guess we can cross that bridge when we come to it, but I don't have a problem. I don't know that we need, because I think the answer that we're getting is, do we need to put all this in evidence right now? I don't see that that's necessary.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay, thank you.
Captain Novotny, you testified on direct that Mr. Lucky was dissatisfied with the outcomes of the IA complaints. Is that right?
Yes.
And there was some inference that those came after his complaints. Is that right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Let's set the record straight. I'm going to show you what has been previously marked as Respondents Exhibit 2. I am able to share my screen and see it. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
I see it now.
You can see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Now my video has gone out wonky. Can you identify what this document is?
Yes, this is the investigative summary that Lieutenant Thomas Beal completed relative to IA case 19-160 regarding a complaint made against Deputy Lucky by Ascension Hospital.
Okay. Captain, as the head of the Internal Affairs Division, you are the records keeper for, I'm sorry, no longer Internal Affairs, for Professional Standards Division. Is that right?
Yes, I guess that's correct.
Can you describe to us how investigative summaries are reached and where they're kept in the department?
How they're reached in terms of, I'm sorry, just for
Can you start with what is an investigative summary?
Okay. The investigative summary is, I guess you could call it the synopsis of the entire investigation. It's part of the investigative case file, and it sort of puts it all into an egg, a nice little perfect little picture for someone to review and see what the nature of the charges are and what alleged rule violations and conclusions are. It's part of the case file.
And what else would you find in the case file, Captain?
You would find an investigative brief, which is a much expanded version of a summary. You'd find the investigation authorization request form that the complainant, the captain, or whoever referred the matter to professional standards would have completed and written up, which outlines the allegations. You'd find the policies and procedures that we're looking at relative to the case. You'd find administrative rights forms and notice of investigation forms that are read to and reviewed with the subject of the investigation. You might find staff management printouts, staff management being an electronic database where supervisors keep notes.
Judge, it's not recording. Thank you, Ms. Rogers.
Didn't ever turn it off.
Oh, no, it says recording. I see it. I didn't see the red dot, but now I see it now.
I was gonna say, I think I got a notice that it was recording when we started.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't see anything because I'm sharing my screen, so it's all.
Yeah, I don't have a red dot up in the upper right-hand corner, but I never did stop the recording. So let me just put my cursor over the area that yeah, it says recording is in progress, so we're good to go. Thank you for paying attention to that though, because I would not want to relive that experience again. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Captain Novotny, had you finished explaining all the elements that go into a case file?
Mostly there might be some more miscellaneous documents or exhibits that are relevant to the case.
And those documents, how are they created?
Some documents might be referred initially with the investigation authorization request from the complainant, the complaining captain, but most of it is generated by the investigator at the start of and then during the course of the investigation.
So is it fair to say that the investigator makes those documents at or about the time that he's conducting the investigation?
Yeah, they're contemporaneously generated.
Okay. And that whole file, is that kept together, or is the investigative summary separate from the rest of that file?
The summary is kept in the file.
And the whole file, is that kept in the office of the Professional Standards Division?
Yes.
Did you have a chance to review file 19160 prior to your testimony here today?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you to review the investigative summary and tell me if it looks like a complete and accurate copy of the file maintained by the Professional Standards Division.
Yes, it does.
Okay. ALJ Molitor, the county would ask that its Exhibit 22 be entered into evidence. And once again, I guess, based on the testimony here and the expanded nature of this hearing, I'm going to offer up whether the parties want the full file or just the summary.
I'm fine with the summary, but if
Yeah,
Attorney
so far I don't
Swift
see a need
wants-
for anything else. We've got what we need in here.
Okay. All right, then is that being offered in evidence? Is there any objection?
No objection. This is 22, and I've got this here as 6 pages.
Correct.
Okay, yep.
Okay. Captain, under the same process, I'm going to ask you to look at what has been marked as Respondent's Exhibit 23. Can you identify this document for us?
Yeah, this is the notice of suspension paperwork for then Internal Affairs case 19-316.
And prior to your testimony here today, did you have an opportunity to review the file kept in the Office of Professional Standards Division?
I did.
Okay. Showing you, I will scroll through this slowly, what is marked as Exhibit 23 for IA 19316. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. And page 9. Is this a true, accurate, and complete copy of the investigative summary for 19316?
Yes, that's the copy of the notice of suspension, which contains the summary, correct?
We would ask that Respondent's Exhibit 23 be moved into evidence.
Any objection?
I gotta look at it first here. Is this notice based on the previous summary?
No, this is a different file. This is 19316. The last file was 19160. This is the notice of summary, the attached notice of suspension, and it has the summary in there.
Oh, okay, this is from 19, okay. Got it. I'm sorry. I don't have a problem with that. So how many pages is this one? 27 or 7,
9.
8, 9. I see that. That's fine. No objection.
Okay, then it is admitted.
Thank you.
Uh,
Moving to Respondents Exhibit 24. Sorry, I'm starting at the bottom. I apologize. Reads case number 21402. Did you have an opportunity to review file for case number 21402?
I did.
And was it kept in the ordinary course of business in the offices of the Personnel Service?
Professional.
PSD Standards Division. Thank you, Captain.
Yes.
I'm going to scroll through. I want you to tell me if this investigative summary is a true, accurate, and complete copy of the one in your office's files. This is page 1. Scrolling page 2. Scrolling page 3. Scrolling page 4. Now on to page 5. And that's it.
That is correct. That is true and correct copy of that.
Thank you. Respondent asks that its Exhibit 24 be moved into evidence.
Any objection?
No, how many more are these? I'll scroll ahead.
3 in total.
Okay.
Oh, this one is admitted.
Okay, so 24 is admitted.
Yes.
And here we have 25. It references case number 21. Sorry. Actually, I had moved to 25. There we go. We did 24. Okay, 25. Shows case number 21082. Captain, did you have an opportunity to review case file 21082 in preparation for your testimony here today?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to review the file and verify that it is a true, accurate, and complete copy as I scroll through it. This is page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4.
That is correct.
I need just a moment. Sorry, struggling. Okay, stop sharing. Hey, give me just a moment. We had some testimony a bit earlier about your investigation of the Ascension Hospital incident. I believe you said you thought it occurred in June. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Is that correct?
I'm sorry. Do you mean the freighter?
Freighter, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it was. I feel like it was June 20.
Okay. And you were the assigned investigator for that?
Correct.
What was the outcome of that investigation?
It was a sustained investigation. The rules were sustained, and the sheriff reviewed that and made a decision to separate Mr. Lucky from employment.
Now, is the sheriff's decision to separate final?
No.
What happens next?
In a case like that with a heavy discipline action, it is sent to the Personnel Review Board, and there's an opportunity for the employee to go to the PRB and make a case that the sheriff's determination be modified or overthrown, overturned, or something else.
So is the termination decision final until the Personnel Review Board rules?
It's not final until the Personnel Review Board rules.
Okay. So did your investigation of the matter at Freighter go before the Personnel Review Board?
It did.
And did you participate in the drafting of the charges that were sent to the Personnel Review Board?
I did.
I am going to share my screen again. Show you what is marked as Respondents Exhibit 26. Can you see that? I don't know if this always goes right in the way.
Yes, I can.
Okay. I'm going to scroll through it and ask you to review it. Do these also get kept in the Office of the Professional Standards Division with the file?
Yes, they do.
Okay. I'm going to scroll through and ask you whether this is a complete, true, and accurate copy of the charges that were brought against Mr. Lucky in that case and kept in the files of the Personnel Standards Division. This is page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8. Does that look accurate too?
It does.
We'd ask that respondents, I don't know if I moved 25, but 25 and 26 be moved into evidence.
Any objections, Attorney Cross?
That's fine. Normally, I don't see the investigative summary with this case here, which is normally included with the decision. I do see their conclusions of law, but I don't see the summary on this one.
This is not the decision, counsel. This is just the written charges. If you like, we are happy to move the decision into evidence now as well.
Okay, I got it. I have no objection to the charges.
Okay, then Respondents Exhibits 25 and 26 are admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Since counsel referenced it, I suppose we'll do this now. Captain Novotny, did you have an opportunity to, were you aware of the results of the charges brought against Mr. Lucky in that
Yes.
case?
Yes,
Have you had a chance to review the decision of the Personnel Review Board?
I have.
Does the Personnel Review Board send a copy of its decision to the Professional Standards Division?
Yes, they do.
Does the Professional Standards Division keep a copy of that decision in its records, in its file?
Yes, we do.
I would like to ask you, I'm sorry, have you reviewed that file and have you reviewed this decision?
I have.
I'm going to scroll through this and ask you to tell me whether this is a true, accurate, and complete copy of the Personnel Review Board decision.
We'll stipulate that it is. I don't have any objection to it.
Okay. Great.
And we'd ask that Respondents 27 be moved into evidence.
No
All
objection.
right. Okay, then it's admitted.
All right. And going back to this is marked Respondents 30. This has not been previously marked because this is the file that was missing. It is correlated to Respondents.
Well, I'm going to object on that ground.
I
If I
understand.
haven't seen it
So let
before
me,
Wednesday, I'm going to object to it being presented today.
so let me go ahead and finish what I was saying. This is related to I apologize. Give me a moment. A long file to look through. I believe it's Exhibit 9 was initially marked, which was just the initial summary. This is the file that was located in January and turned over in January. I believe what you initially saw during Discovery Council was oh my. I believe actually you've seen everything in this file during Discovery back in December and January. Then the front page, this December 9th document was tendered January 26th when we located the full file. And the last page that we found on Wednesday is this final document, page 25, which is just a dated list of the case notes. So we are asking to supplement. Actually, we could either mark it as.
If you're warranting that this document here, the log, the case log is the only thing new that that's Wednesday, then I'm fine.
I am warranting that it is the only thing you have not seen before. And when we turned it over on Wednesday, we turned it over in its completeness, so you didn't even have to go searching for other documents to reassociate with it. Captain, can you identify what this document is? Do you know what file? I'm sorry, I think I have to start at the bottom in this one. 2299 is?
This is a file of investigator Scott Stiff's fact-finding investigation into a complaint that Mr. Lucky made regarding harassment and bullying behavior.
Okay. And have you had an opportunity to review this file? First of all, did you find this file in the Office of Professional Standards and Division records?
Yes.
It was initially lost. Do you happen to know why?
I've heard why. I wasn't part of when this was created. For context, I wasn't in the professional standards or internal affairs. But my understanding is that some records may have been kept under James Lucky and some may have been James Lucky Jr. There may have been some filing discrepancy like that of an unfortunate nature that caused the problem with this.
But it has since been located in total. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it is in the files of the Professional Standards Division?
Correct.
And has it been there all along?
It has. It was.
Did you have an opportunity to review file 2299 in totality prior to your testimony here today?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to scroll through and ask that you determine whether this is a complete, true, and accurate copy of the file. Starting with page 25 and scrolling up. This is page 25, page 24, page 23, page 22, page 21, page 20, page 19, page 18, page 17, page 16, page 15, page 14, page 13, page 12, page 11, page 10, page 9, page 8, page 7, page 6, page 5, page 4, page 3, page 2, and page 1. Is that a true, accurate, and complete copy of file 20-299?
Yes.
Thank you, Captain. I believe earlier you testified something to the effect that, actually strike that. I do want to go back to Exhibit 25 and ask you just a question on how to read these. In those case numbers,
Before
21.
you go back, Attorney Lawrence, so is this Respondents Exhibit 30 that we just went over?
So, Your Honor, it can be 30 or it can be a supplement to, I believe it's 9. I'm attempting to verify that. Yes, it can be a
Okay.
supplement to 9. 9 is what we provided initially, but it was just a piece of the file. And then this would be the entire file. So it depends on how Your Honor would prefer us to introduce it.
I would prefer that it be introduced as Respondents 30. I think it's just
Okay,
easier to follow that way.
agreed. And that is how we
Okay.
marked it. So if Your Honor is so inclined, we would ask that Respondents 30 be moved into evidence.
Okay, and any objection, Attorney Cross?
No
Oh.
objection.
Okay. All right, thank you. Then it is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
So I'm gonna move this out of the way again. Okay. Looking at Exhibit 27, oh wait, no, I'm sorry. 25 as an example, going back to the case number, can you identify how case numbers are assigned to investigations?
Yeah, they're just the random, I mean, they're chronological in order of as the investigation is received in our office. When a case is opened, the next available number is assigned to a case.
Okay, so if this is 21082, Exhibit 25, and I go back to Exhibit 24 and read 21402, which one would have come first?
21082.
Okay, and if Exhibit 23 is a 19316, is that before those other two?
It is, and I should explain further that the first two numbers and characters refer to the year of the case. So this would have been opened in 2019, the others, and the corresponding year.
And is the same true for investigations of complaints? So in other words, Exhibit 30 is 20-299. Does that mean that this was opened in 2020?
That should be the same, yes.
Thank you, Captain. You testified as well that the investigation process in the Professional Standards Division often takes a couple of months. Can you walk us through that process?
Sure. So when a case is opened, it's assigned to an investigator, and then it goes, I guess, in a queue, for lack of a better term. There's usually generally a fairly heavy caseload here each investigator has, and we try to work cases chronologically as often as possible to prevent, getting too far from the original incident date. So we work chronologically, generally speaking. So that takes some time before the case is even actively worked in most cases. And then the investigator, once they begin, they have to identify relevant portions, who would be relevant to interview, evidence that would need to be gathered, and so forth. Generally, depending on the complexity of the case, it could take a couple weeks or even longer, depending on the number of witnesses, if people are available, not on vacation, etc. Then finally, upon conclusion of the case, if it is going to a disciplinary hearing, we have to get a disciplinary hearing date from the sheriff when they're available. And between A and Z, it's generally several months, sometimes longer.
Okay,
Sure.
Thank you, Captain. I am sorry, I'm struggling with my video here. I'm trying to figure out how to stop. Oh, there's stop sharing. There we go. Do you keep metrics on approximately how long it takes you to complete investigations?
There's nothing formal, no.
Okay. Do you have any rough estimates as a captain overseeing Professional Standards Division for a couple of years now? Do you have a general sense of how long investigations usually take?
Once they're from the time that the investigator actually begins work on it, or from the time that we open it as a case, just for clarity.
I guess I would say from the time that you open it as a case.
I think we are finally in the year 2023 with all of our caseloads right now. So it's it could easily be 3 to 6 months in some cases.
Okay. You investigated the case number 21082, is that correct?
It sounds correct, but could you remind me
Yes.
on that one?
I'll put that back on the screen for you. It's Exhibit 25, case number 21082. Sure. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at it. You're not. I apologize. Okay. Does this refresh your recollection about which one this was?
Yes, it does.
Okay. I think we had some discussion about it was ultimately not sustained. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you know why? Were you part of the decision to impose no discipline in this matter?
I was not part of the decision to impose no discipline, no.
Okay. And you said that was the sheriff's decision. Is that correct?
I believe in this case it was then Chief Deputy Danita Ball that decided to not go forward with discipline, which is something that Sheriff Lucas had designated to her. She had the ability to do that.
Okay. And had you made a recommendation in this case?
I believe that I did not, under that administration, beginning with Sheriff Lucas, professional standards were not making recommendations.
Okay. But you were the investigator, correct?
Correct.
And based on the information that you found, based on your investigation, what did you conclude about Mr. Lucky's, the claim that Sergeant Byers made about Deputy Lucky's insubordination?
I believe he was insubordinate in his actions, in the way he responded to the situation, but I had no problem when the chief deputy decided not to pursue it for discipline because of further information that I think came up and regarding his limited duty status.
I think last time you were on the stand, you testified about some emails into his FMLA status. Is that correct?
That does sound likely, yes.
Do you recall if that was part of your investigation?
I don't want to say yes. I think it was, but I'm sorry. I don't want to testify yet if I wasn't, if it's not correct.
Okay. Do you believe that the FMLA standards or work rules, let me rephrase that, I apologize. Do you believe that the conditions set by Deputy Lucky's doctor were a factor in this case?
In the way the case concluded?
Yes.
I do.
Can you tell us how?
I'm sorry, I'm just not clear. Are you asking him for his opinion as to whether or not he acted in response to the doctor's opinion, or whether the doctor's opinion was right, or something else? Maybe I just didn't hear it correctly.
I am not at all asking to give medical advice, not at all. I'm asking if the standards, medical presentation that Mr. Lucky submitted from his doctor had a role in the outcome of this case.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
So
appreciate the clarity, counsel.
I would say I'm pretty certain that that's why the chief deputy decided the way she did. Just as an example, in attendance cases, somebody may violate attendance policies, and it might go all the way through the investigative state to a hearing, But in the meantime, some information will come up via FMLA or other medical records that will weigh in the sheriff's determination, and they may be sort of given a break, so to speak, or lower level because of that. Even though it might not have been known at the time, they sort of often retroactively look at things like that. And I'm can only guess, but I think that's what happened here.
We don't want you to guess. Don't suppose if you don't know. I'm going to go to Exhibit 24, case number 21402. You were the assigned investigator for this case as well, correct?
Correct.
And do you recall, in summary, what this case was about?
Yes. This was about, it was referred for insubordination regarding an incident where Mr. Lucky wanted initially he wanted some information. He felt he was being given a mandatory assignment unfairly. And he approached the Sergeant Byers at roll call with that and wanted information about it. And she said she would talk to him about it after roll call. After roll call, they walked to her office. He followed, and that's where he claimed that she first didn't hold the door open for him, I think. And then he was upset she didn't hold the door open. And then second, as they passed through a second door, he was mad that she closed the door. I forget. It was in one case he alleged she swung a door open and tried to hit him with it. In the second, she closed it too fast or something like that. But anyway, because of that, he became irate and was yelling and things of that nature. He refused to go into service until he had spoke to someone of a higher rank than me. And subsequently, it took about an hour-ish before that was resolved and he went into service.
Captain, do you recall the conclusion of this case? Was it sustained or not sustained?
The sheriff sustained it and issued a 5-day suspension.
Okay, so we've just reviewed two cases, both involving Sergeant Byers and insubordination. One was sustained and one was not sustained. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So would you say that it is fair to characterize IAA as always deciding against Mr. Lucky?
That is absolutely not the case, as evidenced by these two matters.
And this particular one, 21402, also went to arbitration, did it not?
It did.
Can you explain how that works?
So when by contract, deputies, if they disagree with the disciplinary decision, that equals a 10-day suspension or less. Instead of going to the Personnel Review Board, it can be sent to the WERC for arbitration, and which is a similar matter. Everyone on this call probably is aware of that. And in that case, Deputy Lucky decided to do that. He did not like the 5-day suspension decision. So an arbitrator from WERC did review this matter in a hearing and ended up upholding the sheriff's decision and upheld the 5-day suspension.
I'm going to share my screen and show you what has been marked as Respondents Exhibit 19. I guess I should first ask, do those documents, the arbitration decisions, are they also sent to the offices of the Professional Standards Division?
They are.
Are they maintained in the files of the Professional Standards Division?
They are.
Have you had a chance to review? So this would be part of the file that you, or part of 21, or is it a subsequent file?
This would have been filed.
Sorry, 21402 is what the number I was looking for. I apologize.
No, I'm sorry for speaking over you. This would be maintained in that file.
Okay.
I'm sorry. What document are we looking at?
Respondents Exhibit 19.
Is it one page?
No.
Okay.
It
And it's been
is 2
admitted
pages.
already? Okay.
Not yet. I'm actually asking him right now to review. It's 2 pages. Scrolling from the bottom up, this is the second page.
Hey, Peter
This is-
Davis. Okay.
The
Yep.
first page. Is this a true, accurate, and complete copy of the arbitration decision to which you've just testified?
It is.
We would ask that Respondents Exhibit 19 be entered into evidence.
Any objection?
No.
All right, it's admitted.
Thank you. I don't believe I have any other questions for Captain Novotny at this time.
All right. Additional questions from you, Attorney Cross? Attorney Cross, I can't see you and you're on mute, so I don't know if you're saying anything or not.
That explains everything. I will try to share my screen here. I think can you see the 19?
Yes.
Okay, great. Whew, that's always a scary proposition. Okay. And Mr. Novotny, you see this document here?
I do.
Okay. And that's Melinda Lawrence is representing the county there. You see that?
I do.
Okay. And above there, it says Graham Wiener of McGillis Wiener. And it says, who is he appearing on behalf of?
Milwaukee Deputy Sheriff's Association.
Okay. So that's an attorney paid for by the union, right?
Yes.
And that's a union that Frank Gladney was president of, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I think I said Frank mixed it up for the 50th time, but I do know it's Frederick, and I appreciate that. Okay. So, now you also just testified that you keep these decisions in your office, right?
Yes.
Okay. So your office knows, for example, what happened to Mr. Gladney.
I would object. I'm not sure there's an arbitration with Mr. Gladney at issue.
You know the outcome of the outcome in the decision against Mr. Gladney for threatening to assault Mr. Lucky and calling him nigger, right?
If I understand you correctly, I'm aware of the result of that investigation and what discipline was issued.
Okay, because those documents are kept in your office, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you're also aware that it was at one point, and I'll stop sharing my screen, a 15-day suspension, and it was changed to a 10-day suspension, right?
Correct.
Okay, because you have those records in your office or something else?
We do have those in our office.
Okay. So let's just focus on the hospital complaint. And I think I just got mixed up because the one that he got terminated on, I believe, is the freighter one. Is that your recollection?
That's correct.
Okay. So those allegations happened, or that the allegation of the incident that occurred is back in, I believe, July. Does that sound right?
It may be. I think I said June earlier. I might have been wrong. I'm not sure. June, sometime in that time frame.
Okay. And you interviewed Mr. Lucky regarding that incident, right?
Yes.
Okay. When did that occur, before or after he was walked out?
That case was investigated before.
Okay, about how long before?
Couple of months.
Couple of months, okay. Now, you just testified to me earlier to this tribunal earlier that you're now getting into 2023. Is that right?
We recently started. Yeah.
So was that 5.5 month backlogs, 5 month backlog? What are we talking about?
Well, what I meant was all of our caseload is 2023 cases now. We have no outstanding 2022 cases. I did not mean we're just now beginning to investigate 2023 cases.
Okay.
I apologize if there's any confusion about that.
But so there's a several month gap between when you investigate the freighter incident and when the decision to terminate actually happens, right?
In that case, there was a few months between the initiation of it and the disciplinary meeting with the sheriff. Yeah.
Okay, and in that time, Mr. Lucky files his complaint against Mr. Gladney, right?
I believe you established.
Okay, and Mr. Gladney calls my client a nigger, right?
I believe that was part of the allegation.
Okay, but it happened in between these two things too, right? That's the key thing.
I feel like that time frame is correct, but I'll say yeah.
Okay, and Mr. Lucky also files an ERD complaint in those and that interregnum, right?
I believe so, based on what timeline you've been referencing.
Okay, and you're investigating Mr. Lucky for recording Mr. Gladney calling him a nigger and threatening to assault him, right?
And for threatening him as well, but yes, that occurred in that time frame as well.
Now, I don't think we need to go into this too much, but just generally speaking, you're explaining to us that there was some file that was missing. Is that right?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, and is this a single file? What are we, when you say file, can you describe what you mean by that?
I don't know exactly what was not presented when that case was originally investigated. I wasn't part of the division, so I don't have I know that there was something that wasn't turned over because it was misfiled.
Okay, and that's Mary Yu that would be responsible for that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Right, that's because I guess that's part of why I'm asking that, I think is right, is there are also Mr. Lucky made allegations that there were files of his HR files of his complaints that he made to HR that were missing, right?
I'm not sure.
Well, do you recall Ms. Paul testifying about that when you observed her testimony the last time we were all together?
I do recall her testifying, and yes, I do recall her testifying.
Okay. So that's two sets of files relating to Mr. Lucky that were missing. Is that right?
I would object that misstates both what the witness said and the record.
So far, I think I have to agree with that.
Okay, but that's not okay.
So,
Ugh. Now, it seems like Mr. Lucky made a lot of complaints that you've had to investigate, right?
He made, I don't know what a lot would be, but I know he made complaints.
Okay. And there's statements all throughout these investigative summaries saying, of his supervisor saying that he makes a lot of complaints, right?
Yes, I've seen that.
Okay. Is he a complainer?
I guess one thing that when I interviewed Captain Charles Stowers for one of the insubordination cases, kind of summed up, I think, what supervisors may have felt, and Captain Stowers said that to the effect that Mr. Lucky had inaccurate perception that he was being singled out for things. In other words, being singled out for things that everybody was subject to, such as normal work rules and efficiency issues. But he felt, in Captain Stowers' opinion, based on some interactions and lengthy discussions they had at Patrol Division, that Mr. Lucky took those things very personally instead of understanding that it was work-related deficiencies.
Oh, okay. So in other words, Mr. Lucky felt that he was being treated differently, right?
In the perception of Captain Stowers, inaccurately so.
Okay. So it's fair to say that Mr. Lucky is complaining to his supervisors about race discrimination, and his supervisors are saying that that is instead a business necessity. Is that right?
I would object that that mischaracterizes his testimony. Please continue.
Then he can answer that.
Okay, then go ahead.
Right, as opposed to having her answer for him. Sky is green.
Go ahead and repeat the question, please.
Well, can we get a foundation for that first then? If he's going to change it from general complaints to race complaints, can we lay that foundation?
That would be appreciated.
Points that he's raising, right? That he's being discriminated against based on his race, right?
Is that a question to the witness?
That's a question to the witness. The
Can you
complaint.
repeat it, please? Can you repeat it, please?
Sure. The complaints that Mr. Lucky are making are race complaints, right?
Some of them.
Right. There's an FMLA complaint as well, right?
There was an FMLA complaint.
Okay. But he complained that he was threatened with assault and called nigger, and that was a race-based complaint, right?
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Better for Mr. Lucky to answer that.
And what about the word nigger leaves you in doubt of whether or not that was a race-based complaint?
As I said before, that's an offensive word, or if I didn't say it before, I consider that an offensive word. So
okay. So then let's talk about the Sarah Byers allegation that he made. Did she say that she did that for no reason?
do what?
Slam the door on him.
She did not slam the door on him based on
Right. What did he allege?
He alleged that she slammed the door on him.
Okay. And did he allege that she slammed the door on him for no reason or something else?
Did he, I'm sorry, I'm struggling. Did he allege that she slammed the door on him for no reason?
Right.
I don't know.
Did he give a reason?
He said she slammed the door on him. I don't know why. He thought she might have slammed the door on him.
Okay. What about when he said that he was not getting support from other deputies? Was that a race-based complaint or something else?
Which complaint is that in? I don't believe I investigated that.
Well, you went through all these summaries, right?
I read them, but I think when you call investigator Stiff, who actually completed the investigation, he would be able to answer far more eloquently than.
I'll keep that in mind for future reference. Can you answer my question?
What was it again, sir?
Didn't Mr. Lucky complain about that he was not getting support from other deputies?
I believe he did.
Yeah, was that a race-based complaint or something else?
I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't conduct that investigation.
Okay, but you're able to testify as to the foundation for all of these documents?
I read it. I did not conduct the investigation.
Okay. So based on that knowledge and understanding, can you answer my question, please?
I'll try.
Appreciate it.
Is there a question pending?
Is the complaint that Sarah Byers swung the door against Mr. Lucky a race-based complaint or something else?
I don't believe there was any indication it was race-based.
Okay. How about the failure of the deputies to support him?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
Investigate that.
And how about the allegations that he was being put on a shift as the only person who was on the shift, and that and the white deputies got 2 people on their shift?
I'm going to object that there is no such allegation in the complaint, but please carry on. Can we lay a foundation of where that's from?
Do we have the foundation in Attorney Cross?
I assume so. I mean, let me know when I can speak. When her turn is done, let me know, and then I'll continue. But the interruptions are just too much. I watched this video 2 times through, and I've had to pause. I can't tell you how many times listening to my own self on YouTube because I'm getting over talked and just interrupted before I can even finish asking my question. Here, this isn't even an objection. And I can't even get the question out. And the witness can answer these questions. If his answer is he doesn't know, and that can be his answer, or something else. But for her to put that answer into his for him, we might as well not be here. So if she's going to act as the judge, we might as well not be here. So you let me know, Judge, when I can speak, and then I'll ask my question. And then if she makes an actual objection, as opposed to a suggestion for me on how I should conduct my case, then we can, stop and deal with that as that happens. But these speed bumps, suggestions, and otherwise inappropriate behavior are just going to result in me stopping and waiting for you to allow me to speak. I don't even bother to respond if you haven't noticed, because the sustaining of whatever she says is automatic. So just let me know when I can continue, please, Judge.
You may continue now.
Thanks. Sir, you gonna answer my question or something else?
What was the question?
Well, who knows? We'll have to wait for Google to tell us, I guess. And possibly Lark. You know, Judge, the whole concept here is to have a hearing and for us to be able to ask our questions and to have our day in court.
Your Honor, if it helps for me to restate my objection, we're just asking for context for the question. I don't think I understood any context was provided. If you can provide context so that I can understand what question's being asked, I can withdraw my objection.
And I guess my question would be to the witness whether he knew of this particular complaint that you're speaking of, or that you asked him about. I'm not sure that I remember him testifying as to his knowledge of that earlier. And perhaps that's just my lack of recall. But perhaps if we ask him whether he knew if Mr. Lucky made a complaint about being the only person on a shift, whereas white officers were doubled up, I guess that's a good place to start. So go ahead, Mr. Cross.
Did he make that complaint, Mr. Novotny?
Did he make that complaint?
Didn't he make that complaint?
I believe that was part of the fact-finding case that Investigator Stiff worked on.
Right. And you always believe that today, haven't you?
I don't understand the question.
Are you still waiting for me, Attorney Cross?
No, I'm
Okay.
thinking here. Thank you. Now, did you testify at Mr. Lucky's discharge hearing?
Before the Personnel Review Board,
Right.
I did.
Mhm. And did you mention Frank Gladney at any time?
I don't know for sure. There was a lengthy hearing, but maybe not. I don't believe from recollection that Fred Gladney was part of that investigation.
How about, did you mention that Mr. Lucky filed an ERD complaint?
No, I did not.
Did you mention that you had talked to Mary Paul almost the day before walking Mr. Lucky out about Mr. Lucky's, no, I scratched that question. Did you tell the PRB that your office was collecting materials in response to Mr. Lucky's ERD complaint the day the sheriff decided to terminate him?
I don't recall, but probably not.
And did you tell the PRB that Frank Gladney called him nigger?
Probably not, as it was not part of that case.
Did you tell the PRB that Mr. Lucky complained about your office retaliating against him?
Again, if it wasn't part of that case, probably not. I wouldn't have. If Mr. Lucky had referenced any of that in his multiple documents that he submitted in response to his case review in that matter, it might have been presented to them in that format. But unless I was asked about it, I likely would not have talked about something like that.
Okay. Did you tell the PRB that Mr. Lucky did not have union representation.
Yes, well, I don't know if I said it, but they were well aware of that.
Okay, and did they know that the reason that he didn't have union representation was because the union president called him nigger and threatened to assault him?
I don't know about any of that.
And you didn't tell him that, did you?
I wasn't representing Mr. Lucky. No, I did not.
No, but you testified at that hearing, didn't you?
I answered questions that I was asked, yes.
Okay. And you investigated the charges and recommended them to Ms. Zillig, right?
I didn't recommend anything, but I did investigate.
Right, and the charges against Mr. Lucky would not have gone to Ms. Zillig without going through, right?
You froze, but it sounded like you were asking if the case file would not have gone to her.
No, I'll happy to repeat that. The charges against Mr. Lucky would not have gone to Ms. Zillig except through you, right?
The case after completion would have been passed to her to review, correct?
And after having gone through your office.
Yes, because I did the investigation.
Okay. And in that investigation summary, do you say that Mr. Gladney calls him a nigger?
No.
Do you mention that he filed an ERD complaint?
No, it wasn't
You
relevant.
mentioned that you failed to investigate yourself.
I did not mention that I did not investigate myself.
Okay. Did you mention that you failed to ask anybody else to independently review the allegations against you?
I don't think I referenced that I failed to do any such thing.
Okay. Did you reference the fact that Mr. Lucky went to HR to complain about internal affairs retaliating against him, and HR brought his complaint to you, and then you did nothing?
Are you talking about in the summary?
Right. That you in the summary. Right.
Well, the summary I thought I explained before. The summary is a document relative to the specific charges that an employee is alleged to have violated.
Oh, and you don't think that that was relevant to the charges against Mr. Lucky, that he made a complaint against you in your office for retaliating against him?
I don't know.
Why not?
The charges were specific to his misconduct, sexual harassment charges, and various other conduct of member charges.
Okay, and how is the decision maker able to make a complete decision without that information?
If I'm understanding you correctly, I provided everything regarding his rule violations through an extensive investigation and forwarded that case.
Except for the fact that Mr. Lucky alleged that your office was retaliating against him, correct?
I don't recall at what point that allegation was made. All the things you're talking about are sort of blurring together at this point.
And retaliating against him because he made race-based complaints, right?
I would say no.
He didn't make those allegations?
I would say I did not. No, I'm not saying I didn't say he didn't make those.
Okay, great. Well, then let's stick with that.
Certainly.
So we can be clear up the difference between an opinion and a fact, right? You'll agree with me that that's what we're trying to do here?
I'm not sure what you're trying to do.
Okay. One second, please. No more questions.
Any recross?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Captain Novotny, for your testimony today.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, okay. It looks like it's coming up on lunchtime. Are the parties interested in taking a lunch break?
Yes, Judge, if I could just note that we've gotten in touch with Mr. Gladney. We suggested that tomorrow morning would be the good time for him to start. And so we propose to do Miss Byers after lunch.
Okay.
Miss Byers is not available today. She is the only street sergeant on duty today, so if we have to take her off the street, there's no supervisor on duty. We'd actually prefer that she is available tomorrow. One other thing, schedule-wise, Lieutenant Sawchuk received her notice around 3 o'clock on Friday. She already has multiple things scheduled this week. We did ask her to carve out some time. She's available from 8 until 10 tomorrow morning. So if that works into council's schedule, that's great. Otherwise, she is not available this week. Or today.
Okay. So you're saying Byers can't be available this afternoon?
Not unless there is another sergeant available to cover for her when she has to be pulled off duty. Which at the moment, but last time I checked in this morning, the answer was no.
Okay, well, it sounds like Zillig is on deck then.
And my understanding, Your Honor, for that, based on your ruling, was that she is here for the limited purpose of talking about the conversation with Mary Paul. Is that correct?
Yes.
I mean, just as much as Mr. Novotny was limited to that same purpose, that's what we kept him to, right?
Well, I think Mr. Novotny is different in that he was always scheduled for recall by both parties.
I don't know what that means. I just recalled him now to talk about Mary Paul's testimony.
I think the testimony greatly exceeded the scope of Mary Paul's notes.
Well, it did, but why don't we take it as it comes?
Absolutely, Your Honor.
This afternoon.
Great.
And so will Miss Zillig be available, say at 1:15?
I believe so, Your Honor. I will verify that with her.
Okay. And is that enough time for you to take a lunch break? Okay, so it's 12:10. So we'll reconvene at 1:15.
I'll walk the goats. All right. Thank you.
Okay,
Your Honor.
thank you. See you shortly.